The ziggurat loomed over Uruk like a mountain, wrought by the hands of gods and men. Its terraces, reaching for the heavens, were Anu held court. Atop its highest platform, Gilgamesh stood gazing into the distance, his form statuesque, muscles rippling beneath his linen garb as he surveyed his city, the jewel of Mesopotamia. Gilgamesh descended the ziggurat, his thoughts consumed by his own divinity. He was two-thirds god and one-third man, a perfect blend of strength and wisdom. His mother, the goddess Ninsun, had gifted him with divine blood. His father, the king Lugalbanda, had bestowed him with immortal form and wisdom. As he walked through the bustling streets of Uruk, Gilgamesh was greeted by adoring citizens who praised his name and held him as their protector and leader. He was beloved by all for his just rule and unmatched physical prowess. He and his companion Enkidu, the wild man, had gained much fame for defeating and slaying Umbaba, the protector of the cedar forest. Gilgamesh could feel the adrenaline rush from his recent victory over Umbaba, the sound of Enkidu's mighty roar, the clash of weapons upon the beast's thick hide, and the satisfying thud as Umbaba fell to the ground. All of it replayed in his mind like a cherished memory. But still, Gilgamesh wanted more. The people of Uruk held him as their mighty king, for all his proven strength and bravery many times over, and even the gods were not immune to his charms and his prowess. Ishtar, the goddess of love and fertility, had heard tales of Gilgamesh's might and glory. She had seen him from afar, standing atop the ziggurat with his regal stance and commanding presence, and like many others before, she too fell under his spell. And despite being a goddess, Ishtar could not resist the temptation to be in the presence of Gilgamesh, so she made her way to Uruk. As she entered the city's gates, she was greeted with awe and admiration by its inhabitants. They marveled at her beauty and grace, never suspecting that she was a goddess in disguise. Ishtar made her way to the palace where Gilgamesh resided. She was determined to make him notice her and win his heart. "Great Gilgamesh," she said in a voice melodic as the waters of the Euphrates, yet tinged with an outer worldly timbre that commanded attention. Ishtar approached him with the grace of a divine being, her eyes alight with an ardor that could set the very sky ablaze. "Mighty king, your renown reaches even the stars from which I descend. Take me as your wife, and let us unite in a bond that will echo through eternity." Gilgamesh turned to regard Ishtar, her beauty undeniable, her allure nearly irresistible. Ishtar was a vision of ethereal beauty, with skin as smooth and radiant as the moon, her lips full, painted a crimson red. Her hair cascaded down her back in shimmering waves of gold, catching and reflecting the sunlight like a halo. Her figure was graceful and divine, her lithe body moving with poise and elegance of a dancer. She glowed like spun gold in the sun, her features delicate yet striking, with high cheekbones, her skin glowing with the warmth of the morning sun. She had the figure of a goddess, with radiance that could rival the stars themselves. Within his heart, Gilgamesh remained untouched by her gaze. "Ishtar, goddess of love and war," he began, his voice as steady as the stone on which he stood. "Your desire is a tempest, mighty yet fleeting. Shall I be consumed by it, only to be discarded when your winds shift course?" He paced before her, each step deliberate. "What of Tammuz, the shepherd, who now resides in the underworld's cold embrace? Each year he is mourned with wails and lamentation." His eyes locked onto hers, searching not for beauty, but for the truth hidden within their depths. "And the others, transformed, broken, shackled by your whims. Why should I expect my fate to be any different than theirs?" The air grew thick with tension, Ishtar's visage darkening like storm clouds gathering. "How dare you?" she seethed, her voice a serpentine hiss. Her love had curdled into fury at the spurn, festering like an open wound. With the swirl of her opulent robes, she stormed away from the ziggurat, leaving Gilgamesh watchful and wary. Enkidu watched the retreating form of Ishtar, his heart racing with fear and anger. "This will not end well, my friend," he spoke, turning to face Gilgamesh, who remained unmoved by Ishtar's departure. "Her wrath will be great, For she does not take rejection lightly, Enkidu continued, pacing around the platform. You have angered a powerful goddess, my king. Gilgamesh nodded slowly, his mind whirling with thoughts. He had known the danger of crossing paths with the gods, but he couldn't bring himself to submit to Ishtar's desire. He valued his freedom too much. We must prepare for her inevitable retaliation, Enkidu said, placing a hand on Gilgamesh's shoulder. She will not stop until she has extracted her revenge. Gilgamesh sighed and looked out over his city once more. I will not back down from my decision, he declared adamantly. Ishtar may be a goddess, but I am still king of Uruk, and will not be ruled by anyone's whims. Enkidu nodded in understanding, and together they descended from the ziggurat to make preparations for the coming storm. Meanwhile, in the glorious palace of heaven, the home of King Anu, Ishtar engaged the machinations of her revenge. She stands before her father and mother, each glowing with divine light, and under the firmament's expanse, raged before Anu, her father, and Antum, her mother. Great king, Ishtar began, her voice dripping with venomous sweetness. Your mortal son has spurned my offer of eternal love and companionship. Her celestial body quivered with anger as she demanded retribution. Grant me the bull of heaven, so it may gore Gilgamesh, the mortal who dares defy me. Daughter, Anpu replied, his voice a rumble of distant thunder. What you ask for is born from spite, and the king spoke naught but truths. Why should we indulge this vendetta that springs from wounded pride? Because if you do not, Ishtar's tantrum erupted, her threat slicing through the air like a blade. I shall break the barriers of the underworld and unleash the dead upon the living. They will feast until cessation or obedience reigns. Anu's countenance was torn between celestial duty and parental concern. Unleashing the bull will bring famine to the earth for 7 long years, Ishtar. The mortals will suffer greatly. Let them, she spat, her voice unabated. I have prepared for such eventualities. The people and flocks of Uruk will endure. Give me the bull. Her parents exchanged a glance, weighing with the gravity of gods who had witnessed the turning of ages. Then, with a resigned nod from Anu, the pact was made. Very well, Anu conceded, and the heaven themselves seemed to sigh. The bull of heavens shall be yours to command. As Ishtar departed, the skies trembled with foreboding, while Gilgamesh, far below, braced for a storm that promised to shake the foundations of the world. The bull of heaven was like no creature seen before. He was the purest symbol of power and virility, his flawless white hide as strong as any steel. His muscles rippled like cords of steel, holding power and strength within. His head was adorned with sharp, spiraling horns that seemed to pierce the sky. The bull of heaven emitted a scent of smoldering fire, as if its very presence was enough to ignite flames. The air around it felt charged and electrified, a reminder of its divine nature. The earth shuddered beneath the weight of the celestial fury as the bull of heaven descended, its mighty bellow a harbinger of doom that echoed against the clay brick walls of Uruk. Terracotta tiles danced and clattered to the ground, while cobblestones split with the force of unworldly rage. From his vantage point on the ziggurat, Gilgamesh watched the monstrous form cleave the sky, snorting plumes of divine ire. Enkidu, he called, eyes aflame with the thrill of battle and the sting of this betrayal. His call was swallowed up by the sound of the bull's second roar, a sound that fractured the earth once more. The abyss yawned open, claiming hundreds of lives as mere offerings to Ishtar's scorn. Men who at moments ago boasted the warm blood of life now lay silent in the bowels of the world. By Shamash, this will end, Enkidu bellowed, anger and revulsion churning within him as a beast defiled him with spit and dung. He charged, muscles straining under bronze skin, hands outstretched to grapple with destiny itself. His fingers found purchase on the bull's gilded horns, holding fast as the creature sought to shake him loose like a rag doll in the jaws of a lion. Stand fast, brother, Gilgamesh's voice cut through the chaos, the clatter of his armor a staccato rhythm against a din of destruction. He joined Enkidu at the bull's side, their shared resolve as unyielding as the walls of Uruk itself. Together they became a storm of flesh and fury against a divine interloper. The two figures, one's bronze, one silver, merged into a blur of movements as they clashed against the massive bull. Their muscles rippled under the strain of their attacks, their faces contorted with determination. The two men moved as one, their forms a blur of bronze and muscles, fighting against the beast that towered above them. Their swords flashed in the sunlight, a blur of silver that sliced through thick hide with ease. Enkidu's grip on the bull's horn was unrelenting, while Gilgamesh danced nimbly around its hooves, seeking to find a weakness to exploit. This battle raged on for hours, the two warriors locked in a desperate struggle against the bull's immense strength and unbridled ferocity. But their tenacity was matched only by its wrath, and it seemed as though neither side would yield. As they pressed on, Enkidu felt his muscles beginning to strain, and his breath coming in ragged gasps. But he refused to give up, not while Uruk's fate hung in the balance. He dug his heels into the ground, willing himself to find a last urge of strength. Before he could unleash it, disaster struck. The bull let out a deafening bellow and suddenly reared its hind legs, its massive hooves coming down with earth-shattering force. Enkidu barely managed to dodge out of the way, but Gilgamesh was caught off guard and sent flying through the air. "Gilgamesh!" Enkidu cried out as he watched his friend crash to the ground with a sickening thud. The bull turned its attention to Enkidu with a triumphant snort, sensing a victory within its reach. But despite his exhaustion and fear for his friend's safety, Enkidu refused to back down. He charged towards the beast once again, determined to end this fight once and for all. Laying in the dirt, the god king Gilgamesh struggled to his feet. Inspired by his friend's will to win, proud to call him brother, they would not fail. Not Gilgamesh and Enkidu. In a leap, he is back in the fray, and as Enkidu wrestled the head of the great bull, Gilgamesh would find a path with his sword. "Your pride is your ruin," Gilgamesh shouted, his sword glinting menacingly as it sought a vulnerable space between the bull's shoulders. With a cry that matched the intensity of the heaven, he drove the blade home, severing the thread of immortal life that bound the beast to this earthly plane. They stood panting as the bull's form crumpled. The heart still beating with the echo of the firmament was torn from his chest and raised to the sun, an offering to Shamash, a plea for absolution in the face of divine wrath. "May this appease you, deity of justice," Gilgamesh said, his gaze tracing the path of the sun across the sky. They had appeased Shamash, but still, one goddess raged against them. "Curse you both!" The shrill voice of Ishtar sliced through the moment of reverence as she perched atop the city wall, her figure the embodiment of scorned divinity. "Come closer and meet the same fate," Enkidu taunted, hurling a hunk of the bull's bloody flesh toward her, his disdain for the goddess as palpable as the heat radiating from the stones beneath his feet. The people of Uruk gathered around the carcass of the great beast, in awe of the massive iron hooves, marveling at the lapis lazuli encrusted horns. "See the beauty wrought by the gods," Gilgamesh intoned solemnly, before severing the horns with the reverence reserved for relics. Lifting them in sacrifice to his warrior lineage. "Father, accept this humble gift," he whispered, feeling the weight of history in his grasp. Adorning the walls of his palace with his new trophies, Gilgamesh led Enkidu to the Euphrates, where they washed away the remnants of their struggle. The river's cool embrace cleansed more than just gore. It was a baptism after the defiance of the divine. The procession through Uruk became a parade of triumph, the people's cheers washing over them in waves. Gilgamesh could not help but bask in the adoration, his heart swelling with pride. "Who among you is the greatest hero?" he called to the throngs, his voice ringing with unabashed certainty. "Gilgamesh is, Enkidu is," they responded, their affirmation echoing off stone and sky, a chorus unifying men and gods in a single resplendent moment of glory.